Thank you for the question. A good observation. With regard to the president's response to Premier Ford's very ill-advised TV ad, one thing about President Trump, I know him quite well. He understands that 340 million is 300 million more than 40, and that when he gets pushed back like that, he's going to respond. Now, I wish I'd have been with him when the ad ran, because I would have said, sir, just think about this. This would be like you being held responsible for a governor's actions. I love Doug Ford. I think he and Donald Trump should be best friends, quite honestly. But having said all that, you're right, we should be able to put that behind us. With regard to the steel and aluminum and automobile piece of it, that is, I think, of the most importance in terms of the actual trade part of this. I don't know what the line is where the president, I do visit with Jameson Group pretty regularly, as well as Ambassador Hillman. I don't know where exactly the line is where he'll say, okay, that's enough of it, we're going to have enough of that here in the United States. They can have the rest, or I'm not sure what the thinking is. I understand the integration of our supply chain and that it's actually intentional by the companies that did it. And he just wants to change that formula. However, I'll tell you what I'm encouraged by, and nobody's talked about yet this week that I can think of, maybe in one of the sessions, but the announced deal with Ambassador Hillman and Secretary Noem on the icebreaker issue, is one that I was involved in very early on, was a very encouraging sign. To me, it was a warming of a thawing of the trade piece of this relationship. It acknowledges an acknowledgement by the president that we're not building ships very well in the United States, an acknowledgement that the company up here, along with Finland, is good at icebreakers, and by golly, they needed some extra manufacturing space, and they chose Texas. Those are the kinds of deals that turn into bigger deals. I'm fairly confident that was the first of several things to come about. And all I can say is I stay in pretty regular contact with the administration on these things. I've been a little bit frustrated, as you have, by how many cooks are in that kitchen. But I do feel like it's becoming pretty clear to everybody. And by the way, if you hadn't noticed, the president has been taking down some tariffs, little by little, country by country. He is noticing the inflationary outcome of some of those specific tariffs. I happen to think that the softwood lumber, and I know Peter and I have talked somewhat about this, or Chris and I have talked somewhat about this, that's probably the most obvious next inflationary product, because it gets into home building, and everybody needs a home, and our home builders need product, and it's becoming more and more inflationary. So I'm hopeful that the combination of all of those things, please, make sure that Danielle Smith or something doesn't, challenge him on something. She won't. But if you leave it to the negotiators, I think we're in a pretty good place. Yeah.
Danielle.
I think the tariffs are economic folly and illegal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's the one good point, though, that Gene raised. The Supreme Court is going to have a say on that AIPA piece of all of this.
Danielle.